of law in India. Subsection 5 of Section 21 of the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993 provides that a state commission may inquire into human rights violation related to matters enumerated in state list and concurrent list of the 7th schedule of the Constitution of India. Persons suffering from mental illness, like other patients, have the right to confidentiality, dignity, and privacy. They also have the right to accept or refuse any medication, investigation, or treatment. If the rights recognized under the Mental Health Care Act 2017 are violated or denied in any state-run or funded mental health care institution or by any public authority, then the aggrieved person may approach the State Human Rights Commission or a National Human Rights Commission. The Commission may call for a report from the concerned authority in appropriate cases. If the report is not satisfactory, it may initiate an investigation by the investigation wing of the Commission or proceed to examine the complainant and the alleged violator. From our experience, we have observed that the basic rights of the persons suffering from mental illness are often denied or violated by private individuals. Sometimes they are subjected to cruel treatment either by their relatives or neighbors. An affected person are helpless in seeking protection. One of the important functions of the human rights, as stated in Section 12, Clause C of the Act, is to visit, under intimation to the state government, any jail or any other institution under the control of the state government where persons are detained or lost for purposes of treatment, reformation, or protection to study the living conditions of the inmates and make recommendation thereon. Clause D of Section 12 of the Act empowers the Commission to review the safeguards provided by or under the Constitution or any other law for the time being in force for the protection of human rights and recommend measures for their effective implementation. From Section 12 of the Protection of Human Rights, it is very much clear that the State Human Rights Commission has been empowered to visit various institutions, including correctional home, under the control of the state where persons are detained or lost for the purpose of treatment, reformation, or protection. It has been observed that many patients continue to be detained in mental hospital after recovery, as their relatives were not willing to take them back. Some recovered patients have no family or shelter, and they remain stranded in the mental hospital for long period, leading to overcrowding. Consequently, new patients in need of treatment cannot be admitted due to lack of space. Detention of a recovered person in a mental health care institution is a violation of Article 21 of the Constitution of India. The Mental Health Care Act 2017 addresses this issue. Section 19 of the Act recognizes the right of community living. Section 19, subsection 1, clause B says that every person with mental illness shall not continue to remain in a mental health establishment merely because he does not have a family or not accepted by his family or is homeless or due to absence of community-based families. Subsection 2 of Section 19 prescribes free legal aid for the mentally ill persons to exercise his right to family home where family abandoned him. Subsection 3 of Section 19 says that the state shall provide or support the establishment of halfway home, group home for the persons who no longer require treatment in mental hospital establishment, in mental health establishments. Vagrant homes are the shelter place of vagrants within the meaning of Section 2, subsection 9 of the Bengal Vagrancy Act 1943. During the course of inspection, it was observed that a considerable number of inmates are suffering from mental illness. Object of the Mental Health Care Act 2017 is to provide the persons with mental illness the right to get access to quality care. If the inmates of vagrant home who are suffering from mental illness guided only by the provision of the Vagrancy Act, then they would be deprived of their valuable right as provided for them in the Mental Health Care Act 2017. Section 104 of the Act 2017 imposes a duty on the person in charge of all state-run institutions to take the inmates suffering mental illness to the nearest mental health establishment run or funded by state. Section 100 of the Act imposes responsibility on a police officer in respect of persons with mental illness. Section 103 casts a duty on correctional home authority to provide or to take steps for mental health care of a prisoner who is suffering from mental illness. This Act recognizes various rights, including rights to access to health care, right to free of cost health care services, right to live in a community, right to protection from cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, right not to be treated under prohibited treatment, right to equality and non-discrimination, right to information, right to confidentiality, right to free legal aid and complaint. Chapter 3 of the Act speaks about the advance directive, which empowers a person to make an advance directive how he or she wants to be treated for his or her mental illness. This provision also empowers the person to nominate his or her representative in this regard. The advance directive can be revoked, amended, or cancelled, but this advance directive has no manner of application in case of emergency. In order to break down the barriers preventing us from adopting a healthier approach to persons' mental health as a society, we need a multi-directional approach. What are those approaches? Number 1, education and awareness. Number 2, accessible mental health support. Number 3, role model and advocacy. Public figures, community leaders, and influencers must lead by example, sharing their mental health journey and encouraging others to seek help. Number 4, empathy and inclusion. Society must foster spaces where persons feel safe to discuss their feelings without fear of judgment or ridicule. Another tool that can prove to be highly beneficial in this regard is the presence of individual support groups. Support systems are the background of mental well-being. Peer support groups, workplace wellness initiatives, and community outreach programs can help men navigate their struggles. Technology can also play a vital role with mental health apps and virtual counseling, lowering the barriers to access. Most importantly, mental health professionals must advocate for a shift in societal norms to make mental health care of person a priority and to dismantle the stigma around seeking help. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your valuable deliberation. Now I request Professor Subram Rajkua, another panelist, to express his views on the topic.
A very good afternoon to one and all. Thank you, Professor Chakraborty, Honorable Justice Bhattacharjee, and Madam Justice, and distinguished guests and participants. So, as per the schedule, I find that I have only 3 minutes left. Anyway, with the permission of the chair, I'd like to speak something. When we look at the aspect of mental health, we have to look at it at the international scenario, the regional level, the national level, and as mentioned, with a focus on the Northeast. Many things, important issues had been addressed in the inaugural session and just now, and therefore, I would feel that it would be better not to repeat these on my part. Nonetheless, first and foremost, the University School of Law, as well as the National Human Rights Commission, needs to be congratulated for taking up such an important issue for deliberations, and that too with a focus on a particular region of the country. The Commission has been very strong in its criticism of the action of the state, where it has observed that not much has been done, and it expresses displeasure at that. But before going into the regional aspects or the local aspects, I feel I should just refer to the significance of this issue as it has been taken up under the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Goal 3.4 addresses the issue of mental health. The World Health Organization, too, has been concerned with this almost simultaneously with the SDGs. In fact, going a bit earlier from 2013 to 2030, it has targeted how to address the issue of mental health. And if we look at the official statistics, either from the United Nations or from the specialized agency, that is the World Health Organization, we find that 1 in 8 persons suffer from mental health issues in some form or the other And so far, the treatment is concerned, globally, the desired level of treatment is found to be wanting. Treatment, when you speak of treatment, it is not the medical treatment itself, but then post-treatment, follow-up, recovery, and reintegration in the society by the involvement of the community, the inclusive approach, as well as honoring the privacy of the individual becomes very important. Because, as stated in the morning by Justice Bhattacharya, this aspect of privacy, people are reluctant to visit medical professionals, either psychologists or psychiatrists, because they feel that if I go there, then I'll be identified. But then the reality is that the sooner we create awareness in the society that this should not be a taboo, there should not be stigma, there should not be discrimination, because this is something which is very much vital for our survival, meaningful existence. Because, as stated, so far our country is concerned, by the year 2030, India is projected to lose $1.03 trillion if we do not enable people suffering from mental health to exist as healthy citizens, not only to earn a livelihood, a living, but also to contribute to the society of which each one of us happen to be a part with. According to an UNICEF report of 2022, it was published on the 22nd of November 2022, a little over 2 years. It states that 95% youth suffer from mental health issues. Over 1 billion experience mental health disorder, depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder at some point of time or the other. And therefore, here, it is something that has to be taken up significantly. And it is also for, I'm addressing the students in particular, that this has been taken up by under the NEP 2020, and they have taken certain measures to ensure that students have an environment. In that environment, they are provided with various services, facilities, so that awareness is built among them in order to ensure that they do not take it as a stigma. Issues of privacy are also there, but then counselors are to be in place in each and every institution. Very many guidelines are there, very many points are there in the guidelines in the NEP, which time does not provide me an opportunity to delve into. But then, apart from this, it is not only the students, even if we confine ourselves to the academic community, then workplace trauma of staff, faculty or non-teaching, they too need support. Students need support not only in the institutions but at home, because nowadays what we feel or what we have seen is that parents want the students to excel. They are not concerned with the ability, the mental health, but what they do is, in turn, they are very much responsible in stressing the students upon their educational activities. So, workplace trauma mostly are reactive rather than preventative. So when you look at it, we have to consider different aspects as to how we have to approach. It should not, at times it may be ad hoc, but then we have to have a system in place where there are qualified personnel to deal with it, not in a judgmental manner, but to empathize with those who are suffering, or when they see certain symptoms, in the students in particular, how to take care of. So far, educational institutions are concerned. So we need to have various approaches, whether it is disorder, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, etc., etc. Apart from medical, treatment and medical attention, treatment and rehabilitation happens to be important, and therefore, these are to be addressed. But then, since it is primarily for the Northeast, I would just state a few things. So far, the mental health policy is concerned, it is the state of Meghalaya which adopted a mental health policy, a comprehensive policy in the year 2022, which has come into force from 2023. Other states, I believe, have not gone forward, not only in the Northeast, but in the entire country, except for Kerala and Karnataka. So far, the Northeast happen to be concerned. There are certain issues. Mental health policy, as I have mentioned, integrate mental health services, faculty and staff engagement, expanding access to digital mental health, which was referred to in the morning, supporting a culture, providing a supporting culture, lifestyle aspects, nutrition, well-being. These are some of the issues that are required to be addressed. But so far the Northeast is concerned. This map is there, which has shown, from the map we can see that Arunachal is the country with the geographical area of about 89,000 square kilometers, followed by Assam with 78,000 square kilometers. The other states are smaller, but so far the population is concerned. It may be around, because of lack of latest census, it may be around 5 or 5.5. But of the 5.5 crores, Assam has about 3.5 or to 4 crores, and other states, during the course of presentation, it may become evident that there are some states with few lakhs of population, or 1 million of population at the most. As in case of Meghalaya, it is 1.9 or something like that. In case of Sikkim, I think it will be less than 1. In case of Arunachal, I think 11 or 12 lakhs, that way. But then, despite the geographical area of 2.4% of the country, and a population which varies, because Arunachal has a density of only about 13 persons per square kilometer, whereas Assam has about 270 odd. Nonetheless, there are certain problems which are peculiar to this region. If you take the case of Assam, 115 ethnic groups exist. Tribal areas are there which were recognized as totally or partially excluded areas at the time of independence or just prior to independence. Certain special systems are there in place, special system of administration, in the 6 scheduled areas, which are predominantly inhabited by tribal population, with a system of governance which is somewhat different. But at the same time, because of the lack of development, because of the cultural practices, we find that these are the areas where people have been suffering for long. And what form of sufferings? Stress, anxiety. The primary or one of the contributing factors has been that of insurgency. Since early times, because when India became an union, it became independent at that point of time. Manipur and Tripura was not a part of it. It joined later. And even Naga Hills, which was a part of Assam, Naga Hills, Aizawl, present-day Manipur, present-day Mizoram, Arunachal, the frontier tract of earlier times, Meghalaya, part of Assam, all these had certain areas which were predominantly tribal areas, and some very backward areas, inaccessible areas as well. Even today, there are inaccessible areas. So in those areas, what is happening is that it's very difficult to go there. In certain interior areas of Arunachal Pradesh, if I'm wrong, my friends from Arunachal will correct me, they even use porters, even today, to carry officials. So people are lifted on their backs and taken to certain interior areas. And even the government officials over there are provided with satellite phones because other means of communication are not there. So in those areas, life is totally different from what we experience in our towns and cities. Similar situations or similar areas are there in remote areas in Nagaland and other places. So how do we deal with these issues? I'll just wind up in another couple of minutes. The other day, I think day before yesterday, yes, no, the previous day, I was going through a newspaper. The state of Nagaland, the Medical Health Practitioners Association, it was reported that 25 or 30% of the posts were lying vacant. And there were, believe me, as per that report, there were only 435 medical personnel serving in service, and 20 or 25% were due to retire shortly. So they are so stressed that when we have such emergencies or such situations, what do the people do? Some of them go to the medical professionals. Most of them are not qualified in the sense that they are not specialists, I mean to say. But they go to traditional healers. And this is the case not only in respect of Nagaland. In the entire Northeast, traditional healers are there in large numbers. And perhaps many of you have heard of a place called Mayang in Assam, which is known famous for traditional healing and black magic. So many of them, many people, not only from the region, from outside also go there, because there is a belief that if we do not get recovery, if we do not recover early through the modern system, maybe we can try our luck over there. But God knows what happens. Now, just before concluding, I'd just like to refer to the system wherein the digital approach or online approach has been adopted. 767 district approved under DMHP, including the districts in the northeastern region. So this has been a reply to a parliamentary question by a minister, by a MP. And here the question was whether, what is the extent or status of mental health institutions in the Northeast? This is a reply given by the concerned minister, and therefore this has to be treated as authentic. The questions were sought the number of districts in Northeast NER that are covered under the district mental health program. Number two, the total number of operational psychiatric hospitals, mental health professionals, and recent modernization efforts of government-run mental hospitals under the NMHP. Total number of funds allocated in NER, and the total number of students trained at the Lokapria Gopinath Bordoloi Regional Institute of Mental Health, Tezpur. So that is one of the 3 national institutes providing for mental health in the country. The most famous being in Bangalore, the other one being in Ranchi, which is area-wise, which is the largest mental health hospital in Asia. But so far, the response was there. The government did not come out with a clear-cut response. It said there are 25 centers of excellence have been sanctioned to increase the intake of PG students in mental health specialties, as well as to provide tertiary treatment facilities. Government has supported 19 government medical colleges to strengthen 47 PG departments. Mental health services are also provided for 22 All India Institute AIMS centers. Now here, so far the Northeast is concerned, I'll just wind up. According to the statistics provided, it says total number of psychiatrists and trained MOs, medical officers, in Arunachal Pradesh happen to be 9. In Assam, 33. In Manipur, 30. Meghalaya, 11. Mizoram, 3. Nagaland, 5. Sikkim, 4. Tripura, 18. So if you look at it, whether they are psychiatrists, trained medical officials, psychologists, trained psychologists, psychiatric nurse, and social workers, there are a total of about 300 only. So if you look at the entire area, the population, the figure of 300 is very less. So for funding is concerned, of course, here, if one looks at the funding, one will find that next to Assam, Manipur has been provided funding. But then, what is the situation in Manipur at present is very worrisome, because it has been reported by an official that earlier in that hospital in Imphal, I forgot the name of the hospital, there were in a month 1 or 2 PTSD cases, post-traumatic stress disorder cases. Now, after this incident, as the Honorable Justice had referred to, May, 2 years back, almost 2 years back. Now, the hospital has been receiving 5 to 7 PTSD cases every month. So that is the magnitude of trauma, post-trauma, because this is post-traumatic status. So the magnitude of cases involving stress, trauma has increased manifold. Yes, there are problems with the insurgency and counter-insurgency forces. When we speak of this, I should not mention the name of the state publicly, but very recently, I came across a news item wherein it was stated that in a particular district, there were over 24 militant organizations having affiliation to various groups. And this has led to a number of problems. So this is the situation that we are in. So here we find that the Northeast has been suffering as in the rest of the country, but significantly in larger numbers because of the lack of, I do not like to repeat what has been stated, because of the various factors that were mentioned this morning.
I think both the honorable panelists in this session, those who have expressed their views very in details, of course. Srimati Madhumita Mitra, she talked about in details about the Mental Health Care Act 2017 and also some of the other provisions of the National Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. And Professor Subramanian Rasgoa, he started with international movement for the protection of mental health, and later on he highlighted on Northeastern region, what are the loophole and what are the problem with the Northeastern region. And so they have discussed in details, of course. Today we are going to organize this seminar on a very important topic, that is right to mental health, which is a very important human rights issue. And here I just can quote one quotation from Lord Buddha, who mentioned, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." So we have to think it seriously, that whether we love ourselves and whether we have to how to take care of ourselves. Interestingly, when we are talking about in terms of mental health, as also mentioned by Justice Subhacharya Bhattacharya, that there are many issues involved with this right, and especially treatment of patients. And starting from insurgency, he nicely deliberated upon the whole subject, linking insurgency to mental health issues and in Northeastern region. And also he talked about the journey of Indian legislation from 1912, that Indian Lunacy Act, to 2017, the present act, how we have passed all these years. Now, interestingly, if we talk about the world movement for the protection of mental health, then it is interesting that actually the origin of the that time it was treated as a mental hygiene. And that mental hygiene movement started in the year 1908 in the USA. One Mr. Dr. Clifford Beers, he published one book, A Mind That Found Itself, and which had a great repercussion among the people in America. And ultimately, the mental hygiene society has been established in the USA. Now, if we take the example of another important thing, that the first mental health, International Congress of Mental Health, it was organized in London by the British National Association for Mental Hygiene in the year 1948. Now, what I want to mention here, that the United Nations also have taken a lot of period, because we have got ultimately the convention. There was a declaration, but ultimately we have got the convention only in 2006. So within this period, though of course WHO had taken a lot of initiative, and especially in the field of mental health, especially in the year 2001, of course I should mention, WHO, they dedicated its whole annual World Health Report to mental health issues. Mental health, new knowledge, new hope. So these are very good initiative, of course, though a bit late. And what I want to say here, that our Indian legislation, whatever we have found, say Indian Lunacy Act, since 1912, it has continued till 1987. So how many years we have actually taken that colonial legacy without thinking about the condition of the Indian people. 1912 to 1987, and the first act. we have got number of committees and commission. I can mention here Lodha Commission, Lodha Committee was there, Lodha Srivastav Committee was there. There are a number of committees set up by the government of India after independence for taking up the serious issues of mental health issues in India. But ultimately, it took long years to shake off the colonial legacy, that Indian Lunacy Act, which was nothing but a rubbish, only talked about the lunatics. And here we got the journey, as Honorable Justice Subramanian mentioned, that in the year 1987, and then now, of course, we have got the final one, 2017. Though there was two national, policy, mental health policy. Latest one was 2014, taken in 2014, which is very comprehensive, of course. Here I want to mention one thing. If we talk about India, I am coming to the grassroots level, how it is now, what are the problems and issues. Those, of course, Justice Subramanian discussed in details about that, and also Professor Subram Raskua. See, with about 150 million people in India, now 150 million estimated to live with a diagnosable mental health condition, and nearly 83% of the individuals without any access to mental health care services. This is very important. When we are talking that Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted in 1948, it was the first international document where under Article 25, the right to mental health has been declared as one universal right. And as we know, and interestingly, you see, that human rights or international instrument could not be taken up seriously even till today when we are talking of these people, those who are the victims of mental health issues. Now, so but the interesting thing, that the responsibility of health systems is mostly under the jurisdiction of individual states. What Professor Subram Raskua also mentioned, that most of the states have not taken up any policy. In northeastern states, only Meghalaya has taken a comprehensive policy in 2022 to take care of all these mental health issues. Now, if you take this an example, you see, of course, there are, due to cultural, regional, or other political factors, the ineffectiveness of the program differs, of course, state to state. As per the Global Burden of Disease Study, 1992 to 2017, the burden of mental disorders was around 14.3%, that is 197.3 million in the Indian population. This is the world report. And across the states, and out of which, of course, I should mention depressive disorders, 33.8% in India, then followed by anxiety disorders, 19%, schizophrenia, 9.8%, and bipolar disorders, 6.9%. And interestingly, according to annual Arunachal Pradesh disease burden profile, if you talk about Arunachal Pradesh, one of the northeastern states, there is a report from 1990 to 2016. Depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, and schizophrenia were among the top 15 causes due to tobacco, alcohol, and drugs use in Arunachal, and mostly opium also. Because we have seen that in northeastern region, due to Golden Triangle, especially Manipur and Arunachal, the use of, there are a lot of use of opium, and unauthorized cultivation of opium also we have seen in northeastern states, which also is a cause of great havoc in mental health issues. Now, here I want to highlight one thing. See, due to, so far the Manipur is concerned, there was a national mental health survey conducted by NIMHANS in the year 2016, and where it has been mentioned, drug abuse has been implicated as one of the significant contributors to mental health issues in Northeast India. Now, so that is, when we are talking of Meghalaya, we are talking of Mizoram, as Professor Raskua has mentioned. So it is actually the problem is that due to long superstition, customs, then also their faith, religious faith sometimes, and also geographical location, interior and all, and due to paucity of medical experts, they are taking the help of the common village people, village Oja and all, to recover from all this mental illness, which is so dangerous, because ultimately we know what is the consequence of that. And it is of course that today morning in the session, Mr. Anuj also mentioned that total of the allocation budget by the central government, only 43% are being utilized in all over India, and remaining unutilized. And that is also another scenario, because lack of experts on this particular field, mental health, and at the same time, lack of administrative attitude, because most of the states, we have seen that even the administration also is not so serious about taking the care. As another issue, what we have seen that most of the time, even those persons who are suffering from different mental issues, they are keeping it secret due to as a private matter and not coming out. That is also another issue, and there is no widespread campaign, of course, I should say, in also most of the states in Northeastern region. Very few campaign, I say there should be adequate awareness campaign in the villages, especially in the rural areas, which is mostly needed, of course, now. And here you see, I want to conclude because we are running late hour in our technical session. What our Professor Amartya Sen, once he pointed out, what matters most is whether or not measures designed to promote justice actually realize this goal in day-to-day life, and not just in theory. And importantly, you see, when we are talking of all the legislations what we have in India, I'm just mentioning one point. Say, because Madam Mitra has nicely pointed out all the important sections of the Mental Health Act. But there is again, some groups who are very, they're telling very loudly that this act does not, suit to the Indian context in some response. Number one, in this, actually India is fully based on family concern, but this act has given individual preference. This is one very important point, that individualistic. And here I have mentioned one very important point from Indian context. Just this mental health care health of 2017, heavily influenced by the Western model of legislation. It is based on individual rights, is patient-centric, and given the individual total autonomy to give his consent to what is, sometimes is very impossible in our society. Because while, you see, unlike the West, in India, the family is the key resource in the case of mental health issues, is the family. That's why we're talking of community. That's why we're talking of collective approach to the mental health issues. So we are following this, of course, our Mental Health Care Act 2017, following the Convention of 2006 in toto, of course. But the reality is that individual, though of course individual autonomy has been given, that individual is to give consent before his treatment. That is sometimes is very difficult and even not possible. So this is one of the area I believe that fully giving individual approach to individualistic approach to the problem issue, it cannot solve the whole problem. Anyway, so Justice Amartya Sen, once he told, I'm just concluding my point, that in reality we should find now that it has been implemented properly. Now implementation of the Mental Health Care Act also is not up to the mark. We have seen that from many reports, we have found it, many survey, that the act has not been implemented properly in many states. And many states are not even serious about this act, to implement it properly. And so I think that this is an urgent need for the addiction. There should be adequate addiction, de-addiction centers with holistic care. Mental health professionals should be there, adequate mental health professionals, which is also a serious issue. As Professor Suprem Raskwa mentioned that in whole northeastern region, how many mental experts are there. This is also very important, of course. Then counseling services, also very important in such a case. And long-term plans to rehabilitate those suffering from substance use and other things is also very important. So mere awareness programs on mental health issues, more awareness program on mental health issues also to be taken up very seriously. And it should be from the grassroots level, at least from district level and village level, panchayat level. The initiative should be taken seriously, widely, so that it can involve the community, it can involve the different NGOs, those who are working in the local areas, and also the governmental apparatus. Only government cannot do all these things. Only we cannot blame the government that they are not taking all the initiatives. It is also the responsibility of the people in the society, those who are to take the lead, of course, to protect the human rights of all these people, millions of people, those who are suffering from mental health issues. So with these words, I thank you very much, because our next technical session is now almost delayed. So thank you very much.
With this, we come to an end to the plenary session. I will now announce the technical sessions that are to take place right now, and I will request the participants and all our guests to move on to the respective technical sessions. Technical session 1 will take place in the moot court room, which is on the 3rd floor. The topic is International Perspective on Promotion of Mental Health. On chair, we have Professor Dr. Shonjit Kumar Chakraborty, Professor of the West Bengal National University of Juridical Sciences, and the moderator is Mrs. Anona Chatterjee, Assistant Professor of the School of Law, Sister Nivedita University. Technical session 2 will be broken down into 2 parallel sessions. The first one will be held here in the seminar hall. The topic is Right to Mental Health and Marginalized Groups. On chair, we have Dr. Sapam Dilip Kumar Singh, Assistant Professor of Law, Manipur University, Imphal. Moderator is Ms. Neha Mittal, Assistant Professor, School of Law, Sister Nivedita University. And the parallel session 2 of the technical session 2 will take place in room number 301 of our 3rd floor. The topic is again Right to Mental Health and Marginalized Groups. On chair, we have Dr. Afrooza Nasreen Islam, Director of Jorhat Law College, Assam. And the moderator is Ms. Mishti Shaha, Assistant Professor, School of Law, Sister Nivedita University. Kindly move on to the respective technical sessions. You can refer to the itinerary that has been provided in your kits for participation. And the dignitaries are also requested to, if you have your presentations, you can move forward to the technical sessions. And our student volunteers will guide you as required. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I request everyone to kindly settle down so that we can start with the technical session. Everyone kindly settle down. We are going to start the session now. Warm greetings to everyone present in the conference hall. It is a privilege to welcome you all to the second technical session of the National Conference on Right to Mental Health with special focus on Northeast India. The theme for the session is Right to Mental Health and Marginalized Groups, wherein we shall hear intellectual insights from various scholars on the impact of mental health on the marginalized section of the society. I am very delighted to introduce everyone to our chairperson for the session, Dr. Sapam Dilip Kumar Singh, Sir, Assistant Professor of Law, Manipur University, Kanchipur, Imphal. We welcome you, sir. Dr. Sapam Dilip Kumar Singh, sir, is an Assistant Professor of Law with expertise in international law and human rights. He holds an MA, LLM, and PhD in law, focusing on areas such as legal theory, constitutional law, and humanitarian law. He has authored multiple journal articles on human rights, judicial activism, and child protection, published in reputed law reviews and international journals. His contributions extend to books on child trafficking and constitutional governance, along with book chapters on juvenile delinquency and women's rights. He has also served as a consultant in legal reforms, including criminal law and family court legislation. Dr. Singh played a key role as a co-principal investigator in a government-sponsored project on child trafficking in the Indo-Myanmar region. His teaching experience spans over a decade in institutions like Manipur University, LMS Law College, and Royal Academy of Law. Sir, we are highly elated to have you here with us. Now, before we begin with this session, I would like to inform all the participants that each person will get 5 minutes to give their presentation, and we'll have 1 minute for the discussion. The timing shall be recorded and the speaker shall be intimated when their time is over. So now, with the request of the chairperson, I would like to start with the session. I would request Ms. Amrita Banerjee ma'am to kindly come forward and start with a presentation on the topic of impacts of mental health due to substance abuse, a legal aspect.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Amrita Banerjee, a law student from this university. Today, I will be presenting on the impacts of mental health due to substance abuse, a legal aspect of that. my objective of this research paper is how mental health affects an individual and what are the legal repercussions an individual can face from that. So now before we start with the presentation, I would like to say about what is substance abuse. So the use of any harmful or dangerous substances in a harmful manner or in an addictive way, which is detrimental in nature, we call it substance abuse. And mental health is the intellectual well-being of a person, which is seriously affected by substance abuse. Now, there are various legal reforms which govern and attempt to prevent the substance abuse effects in our country, like the Mental Healthcare Act of 2017, the NDPS Act of 1985, which is called the Narcotics, Drug and the Psychotropic Substances Act. So what is the interplay of mental health and substance abuse? There is a complex relationship between mental issues and substance abuse. Misuse of drugs can exacerbate mental health problems, creating a vicious cycle that requires careful legal and therapeutic intervention to break it. So there are various effects which one undergoes due to substance abuse, like increasing criminality in juveniles, increased rate of crimes. Impact of substance abuse also affects family environments like domestic violence, abuse on the dependent population of the country, and if any of the parent is an addict, it seriously affects the child's safety at home. So the other legal issues from substance abuse includes charges of drug possession and trafficking, domestic violence, substance use disorders, theft and property crimes, financial crimes, assault and violent offenses, child custody and family law issues, probation or parole violations, etc. It also affects the employment opportunities of a person if there are any criminal history of that person due to substance abuse. Now, what are the legal reforms and treatment that can be enforced by the law in our country? Article 47 of the Indian Constitution states that the state is required to work towards outlawing the use of drugs and alcohol that are harmful to one's health. The various international treaties and conventions include United Nations Conventions on Narcotic Drugs, Psychotropic Substances, Illicit Trafficking in Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances, etc. In India, the following are the various legal reforms which could be used to prevent the use of substance abuse, like Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, NDPS Act. It has a primary goal of this act was to restrict the supply of drugs, including the manufacture, possession, sale, storage, transportation, and use of any psychotropic or narcotic substances. The de-addiction provisions of this act include the establishment of identification and de-addiction centers for addicts under Section 71. Under Section 39 of the same act, the offender agrees they may send convicted criminals to de-addiction facilities under the NDPS Act. There are various other provisions under this act, like Section 64 and Section 64A. So the other act includes the National Program for Tobacco Control and Drug Addiction Treatment, and also the National Action Plan for Drug Demand Reduction, which is called the NAPD-DR. Now, our Indian legal system has various gaps and violations in the system, due to which it is a challenging work and challenging activity to prevent and reduce the drug abuse issue. Like, India's current drug treatment system faces several difficulties. Limited access to evidence-based care, which means many facilities ignore tried and true therapies like medication-assisted treatment of antiquated abstinence-only strategies. Coercion and involuntary treatment, like the addicts are... Okay. Sir, can you complete this point? Like the coercion and the involuntary treatment, like many a times the addicts are not willing to take up the treatment because they have found a relaxed zone in the substance abuse environment, and the society has stigmatized the seeking of treatment for an addict, so they are afraid of the stigma and the discrimination they face in the society. Now, there are various recommendations I personally have for this, like increasing enforcement and developing of the capacity, encouraging cooperation among the family members and the society, and coordination, improving education and public awareness of substance abuse and its mental health, and increasing the availability of rehabilitation services. Finally, India has achieved some success in the prevention and reduction of the drug abuse, but further improvements and achievements are still left, I feel so. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amrita Banerjee has presented on the topic impacts of mental health due to substance abuse, a legal aspect. She has highlighted some of the important provisions of the UN Convention relating to drug trafficking, and at the same time, she has also highlighted some important provision of NDPS Act, and she has find out some gaps in Indian legal system. So the floor is open for discussion. If you have question, then you may ask question. Floor is open. If there is no question, then we'll continue, because time has already been running out. Could you at least ask one question? Yeah.
What did you find out? Like mental health breeds substance abuse, or substance abuse gives rise to mental health?
So I personally feel many a times we face situations in life which affects our mental health, and we find ourselves in a very uncomfortable situation. So some people take the shelter of substance abuse to find a comfortable zone within themselves. So I think substance abuse can give rise to mental health as well, but mostly mental health issues give rise to substance abuse.
Actually, to make your work better, try to consult with psychiatrists who are working with substance abuse people, or rather victims of substance abuse. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words.
You may not be satisfied with the time allotted to you, but I have been given instruction to complete within the stipulated time, so I'm not able to give you additional time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Next. It's okay. Next is Ankita Mistry. She is presenting on the topic substance abuse and the mental health impacts, a sociological study. Yeah. Please take your time. Floor is for you.
Firstly, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the dignitaries present here. So let's don't waste time, start with the presentation. There is a very old saying that goes, first you take a drink, then the drink takes a drink, and then the drink takes the man. It's an Irish saying which basically means how addiction gradually takes over a person who initially chose to drink. The subject matter, the awareness, and the consequences of this saying is what made place in today's topic. I'll be presenting my topic on substance abuse and its mental health impacts, a socio-legal study. Now, starting off with the introduction, I would first like to explain briefly about what is substance abuse and mental health. Both the terms has been defined by the World Health Organization. The former one is defined as the consumption or over-the-counter use of hazardous or harmful substances which are psychoactive. That includes alcohol and illicit drugs. And the latter one, which has already been defined and quoted by our Vice Chancellor, sir, which is mental health. It is a state of mental well-being where a person is enabled to cope up with his or her work, studies, and stresses and contribute to the community. The significance of these two topics have taken concern in the northeastern states because of its high prevalence and increased consumption rate, as we will discuss further. The next slide. As it goes, we have given the 6 categories of drugs, but among them, alcohol, cocaine, cannabis, opium, heroin, morphine, LSDs are some of the most consumed drugs which are available in the northeastern states. There are some distinct effects on the brain, like some binds with this receptor of the brain, some slows down the activity by producing the gamma neuroreceptors in the brain, and some dampen the activities of the hippocampus, which is a center of the brain responsible to convert the short-term memory into the long-term memory. Moving on to the next slide, it has been seen that the most commonly occurring mental health impacts are anxiety, depression, ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, increase in energy and restlessness, psychosis, schizophrenia, as presented here. The particular mental disorders can also be termed as substance use disorders. The next slide shows a report given by the Meghalaya Drug Abuse Prevention Policy 2020, as per which, if we summarize that, indicates apart from alcohol in Arunachal Pradesh, which accounts to 28%, opium consumption took over all other remaining states because of its widespread availability. The most consumed form of opium is heroin in India. The next slide deals with the psychological problems that prevails in comparison of other disorders in the northeastern India: conduct disorder, hyperactivity disorder, and ADHD. Now, ADHD results to SUDs, which is substance use disorders, along with other disorders. Now, if one already use substances like this and have ADHD, both of them would kind of hug each other and never leave the person who is affected, right? Then what's the way? Medications. It has been seen that medicines don't work as such. Treatments like counseling, rehabilitation does. The next slide, which says about the social factors. Now, for instance, there was a 2007 survey conducted by, it was reported by Goswami, wherein it was found that the father chained his son who was suffering from some mental illness. On inquiry, it was found that they did not have enough financial condition to in fact avail a taxi because the mental treatment hospital was 200 kilometers far away from their house. Noting this, there are other factors, social factors like stigmatization, lack of awareness, lack of parental supervision, consumption of alcohol being part of their festivals, customs, family dynamics, which are still existing and seems to be an issue for increasing the drug consumption and availing no mental health services by these people. The legal point of view only deals with the legal framework or acts which we have in relation to drug abuse, which is interchangeably used as substance abuse, and mental health. The introduction of Lunacy Act during the British colonial period in the 19th century was replaced by the Mental Health Act 1987, which was then replaced by the Mental Health Care Act 2017. Now, this one was introduced to fill the gaps of the previous Mental Health Act, which totally didn't provide enough rights to the people who are affected. It followed certain Western cultures where the affected person was given the discretion to decide. Now, may I take one more minute?
Yeah, come to the conclusion.
Thank you, sir. There was another point. Can I just say that I found that is good. In a recent news published by the Press Information Bureau on January 2025, the DRI, which is Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, arrested 70 people and seized over 231 kg of methamphetamine tablets, 16 kg of heroin, 1,375 kg of cannabis, 3.7 kg hydroponic weed, which worth rupees 355 crores. Some of the government initiatives we have, one is in Nagaland, which was Breaking the Silence, which was organized by the ACTS, which is AIDS, Care, Trust, Support, and the Assam Rifles. We have Nashamukh Bharat Abhiyan, which came in the year 2020. We have DMHP for care services in communities, which is a component of the National Mental Health Program. Now with a short conclusion, I'll end. Shadows of fear haunt us every step. The shadows of fear are the evils. In this context, substance use is the evil. Spreading awareness, educating people about the consequences would probably be a great step to combat this evil from the society. Not to miss the government initiatives and the rising concern of people regarding this is commendable. So is the beauty of the northeastern region of India. Thank you all for listening and giving me your precious time.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ankita
sir.
Mistry, for your presentation. So, questions and the suggestions are invited from the participants. Questions and suggestions are invited from the participants. Do not feel uncomfortable to ask questions.
Very good afternoon. There's one question, Ankita, which I want to put, it's that you have taken a very interesting topic, and I hope so you will go ahead with this further also. But do you really feel that whatever laws are there right now, are they really benefiting us by this topic which you have taken? Any law which you feel that is really very important, or you need any further changes in the law related to drug abuse? First of all, I want to know, are there any laws related to this? And do you really feel that these legislations are enough for us, or do we need any further changes in this?
Thank you, ma'am, for your question. And also, good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, in this regard, in relation to mental health, we have Mental Health Care Act 2017, which was amended to fill the gaps. And in case of drug abuse, we have the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances 1985. And there was another act which came, which was Prevention of Illicit Trafficking of Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1988. Now the second act was, the NDPS Act was to search, seizure, and this very kind of processes. The second act, which was Prevention of Illicit Trafficking of NDPS, that was for stricter implementation of NDPS and its provisions. So I think in respect to not, sorry ma'am? Ma'am, in respect to northeastern India, there is some kind of, what do we say, carelessness, not at all, but because of the government initiatives and the officials their recent initiatives are very much commendable. So from that point of view, a little more stringent, little more like carefulness, I think it is required, but the legislations I found, it was quite up to the mark.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Actually, thank you for the thing. Just, I'm not actually criticizing your work or whatever. No, I just want to give you some guidance. Okay?
Sure,
It's
sir.
up to you to
It
take
will be very kind of you.
Actually, have you heard about fentanyl in drugs and all those kind of things?
Fentanyl, yes,
Yeah.
I heard about that.
Only heard, you have gone through it a bit? or-
No, because when I went through the major drugs available, I didn't get it as any major drugs available in that category.
In the context of, trafficking and all.
Yes.
Okay, that US has this problem. Have you read it? Anyway, for your work, you can improve if you want to.
The work of?
So that this trafficking,
Acha.
murder, you know the issue was there in the election also this year. Okay,
Yes.
part of it. So next thing is yours is a socio-legal thing, no study. Like ma'am had rightly said, what kind of laws are right or not, whether it should be improved, new law has to come or not. So come to the basic thing, from the criminal law, come to tort law, then specific acts. Okay, you always go to that kind of a thing, keeping in mind the constitutional limitations and rights.
Okay. Sir, this is my first time presenting a paper, so I'll keep that in mind whenever I present the next time.
There's always room for improvement, yeah. There's always a first time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Just I want to add that you should also, if you want to develop the paper, then you should also try to find out some NGOs working that particular area in that particular region.
Acha.
And if you want some information, I can help you later on. Thank you.
Okay, sir. I'll contact you. I'm also having interest in this.
So Ankita,
Yes,
you are
sir.
very lucky in the sense that some professors give their suggestion to improve your paper. So record it and improve your paper. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
So next paper is Mental Health versus Laxity of the Stereotype Society, a culpably neglected issues, special focus on Northeast India. Paper will be presented jointly by Priya Saha and Nandana Bishwas. Priya Saha and Nandana Bishwas. Okay.
Good afternoon to our respected dignitaries and all the participants present over here. Myself Priya Shah and my co-author
Nandana Bishwas.
Both of us are practicing advocate at Krishnagar Judges Court in Nadia. We are here to discuss the topic mental health versus laxity of the stereotype society, a culpably neglected issue, special focus on Northeast India.
It is fact that maximum people suffering from mental illness seek help from temples or shrines rather than doctors. Due to lack of education and awareness, people view mental illness as taboo and try to conceal them. Not only in case of biological mental illness, but also there is lack of understanding about psychological impact of crimes.
Now, we are going to discuss about the health and what is mental health. The Constitution of World Health Organization define health as complete physical, mental and social well-being and not mere absence of disease.
It is right to state that no health without mental health. Mental health means continuously and properly being adapted with the broader world by a person using their capabilities to face the reality and challenges to the greatest extent possible.
Now, moving to the next point, what is mental illness or mental disorder? Mental illness and mental disorder are used synonymously. According to Indian Mental Health Care Act 2017, mentally ill person as a person who with some substantial care, their judgment and behavior and ability to function. And coming to the next point, factors of mental disorder.
A factor of health is a feature that brings alteration in health, either for better or worse. It is often linked with persons' low income, physical disabilities, responsibilities, trauma, academic pressure, etc. So hereby we specifically divided the factors in 4 ways.
We can say genetical problems, incurable medical illness, and excessive consumption of alcohol and drugs can be mental illness in biological field.
Next, standard of occupation, poverty, being marginalized, relationship issues, childhood traumas, violence, discrimination, stigma faced by women or transgenders, all of that can included in social factors.
In environmental factors, stress, disasters, incarceration, cultural or religious turmoil can be counted as main factors.
Lastly, the security terms of policies, legislation failing in implementing human rights can be treated as legal factors. Now, we are going to discuss mental health, mental disorder, social stigma, and effects. 1 in 5 people experiences mental illness symptoms. The stigma and discrimination surrounding mental disorder compels people to avoid treatment and restrict them from open up. Firstly, suicidal tendencies among students, the victims of ragging, suicidal tendency among the disabled person, suicidal tendency of sex abused or acid attack victims. Fifth, stigma of masculinity, suicide by victim of false allegations, etc.
Now, moving to the next point, what is the legal framework of mental health in India? In India, these laws should be encompasses curative, preventive, promotional, and rehabilitative aspect to prevent discrimination against people with mental illness. Now, we come to the constitutional part of India, which says that India is a basic law of the land and its basic purpose to secure social justice, peace, and progress to safeguard individual rights and promote national well-being. So, Article 19, Article 21, Article 14, which says the fundamental rights to protect mental health, and Article 42, 47 of the DPSP says indirectly the part of the protect true mental health in the citizen of India. Now, moving to the direct implication, which is Mental Health Care Act 2017, Person with Disabilities Act 1995, like Human Rights Act 1993, those are indirect laws or implication which have direct persons with mental illness.
Now moving to the next, mental health problem in Northeast India. The Northeast India is well known as Seven Sisters. The main factors faced by the people of Northeast India, can I take some more? Just 1 minute, okay. The long history of insurgency, military atrocities, violence, etc., then being geographically isolated and lack of opportunities, unemployment, poverty, superstitions, lack of awareness, stigmas, etc., it can be the factors of counted as factors of mental health issues in Northeast India. Coming to the concluding part, legislation can make laws against discrimination faced by people or improving treatments for people with mental illness. But how the cloud of stereotype thoughts can be removed and the awareness can be spread in the society?
Well, now we suggest that suicide rates among mentally ill people can be decreased by providing them with top-notch, free of cost treatment and medical support in institutions, hospitals, and rehabilitation center, and also by special support and acceptance from family, friend, and community can be powerful resources to meet their needs. And rules should be framed, the government, authorities, and NGOs to periodically for spreading program of social awareness. So we conclude here, and thank you so much.
Thank you, both presenters, for your insightful presentation. I have a query that is, how can you explain the laxity of the stereotype society? So can you elaborate it?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. In the point of mental disorder, social stigma and effects, the points like suicidal tendency of students or suicidal tendency of the victims or rape victims or acid attack victims, or the stigma of masculinity, as we say that men are supposed to be strong always, or the false allegations. There are a lot of cases are pending, which is false. And all these victims, they face a certain kind of mental health issues, depression, anxiety, etc. And but the society, they can't recognize the mental illness, what they are facing, what these all kinds of, there are many more others, but we just take these points of victims of crimes. So the society is stereotyped. The society builds with individuals. So individual of us, each and every one of us, have to remove the cloud of stereotype thoughts, and we have to understand and recognize that what kind of mental issues or mental illness these people are facing or can face. And that's how we have to treat them. We have to join them with us. That's all, sir.
Okay, since the presenters are all students, so I would like to invite suggestions from the teachers, from the students, so as to improve their paper. So students may also ask questions. In return, they will not ask question to you. So ask question to them. Okay.
Hi. As a suggestion, you mentioned that free treatment should be given, right, for mental health?
Yes, ma'am.
So how would you judge the quality of treatment? Because mental health is such an important topic and such a sensitive topic on top of it. If it is free service, then how will you judge whether the quality of service, the free service which is given, whether it is up to the mark or no?
Ma'am, thank you for thank you for the question. Ma'am, we really can't understand the quality of the treatment personally, but the government, in the first hand, government have to ensure that the people who are not able to get, who are poor, who are not able to get very high level of treatment, they can get a minimum help, or minimum they can consult with a medical professional at a hospital or any authority that has been built by a government. So it is, I think, or as per we think, that it is first hand the government have to ensure that the quality of the treatment or the consultancy they are getting, that should be up to the mark.
So if you are planning to work on this topic further, I would suggest that you work on this recommendation particularly, that you mentioned that government will work on it. Now it's an easy word to say, and a very, very, very difficult and complex word to figure out.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you have to give suggestions properly, instead of putting 5 suggestions, even if there is one suggestion, elaborate it better. I mean, and then it's going to be a nice paper.
In future, we'll keep that mind.
Thank you, ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Don't worry. This is a friendly situation. Don't worry, we are all in the same team here. Don't worry.
Sorry,
this
sir.
This is a, this opportunity, the gathering, you won't get it everywhere. You have to take the opportunity. Don't be nervous. Nobody is perfect here. Everybody, even we, even the professor, everybody. And we want criticisms because to make yourself better, Yeah. But this is not
Of course, sir,
criticism.
of course.
First of all, I'll try to answer what the questioner just put up. I would suggest read the Mental Health Care Act of 2017. You'll get your answer that how you could find credible professionals or institutions. Okay, quality. You read the Mental Health Care Act, you'll get the concept there. Anyway, you are practicing advocates, right? And one is an LLM.
Yes, sir.
Beg your pardon? We are both practicing advocates. Do you
Yes, sir, for 2 years.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Once you start, you have to go on till you die. So you practice in the High Court?
No, sir. We are from Krishnanagar Judges Court, Nadia district.
That's good also. Lower courts are better actually, you know. Actual litigation is the thing. But just saying to the general students, those who are not yet conversant with the fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policy, like our Honorable Justice said in the morning, no, enforceable and unenforceable. But it is equally important. It says that it has to be kept in mind. For the fundamentally it has to be kept in mind. So what I call is the directive principles. Whenever you are looking out, directive principles is the passive kind of a fundamental right, whereas the fundamental rights are the active kind of, because both the objective is the same, to deliver the rights. So you have to keep that mind, everybody while they are doing their studies, because you will see there's a study, the relationship between directive principles and fundamental rights and directive principles. You get a chapter there also. In every book there's a topic itself. You read it, all the students, once you're conversant with that, then you'll have a different outlook. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So the next presenter is Reena S. Kumar and Reena S. Kumar and Somanjana Datta. Oh, sorry. So they are presenting on right to mental health and a marginalized group with a special reference to workers in the construction sector in India.
A warm good afternoon, everyone over here. It is really a bit nostalgic as well as a privilege to speak in the first national conference which is being organized by the School of Law and having such dignitaries over here who are giving their inputs. Our topic over here is right. This is the right to mental health and marginalized groups with special reference to workers in the construction sector of India. Actually, my research topic is basically on the construction workers in India, so I thought that why not we can do a bit of research in that. And so this particular presentation actually will talk about the intersection of mental health and labor rights in India, specifically focusing on the construction sector and its impact on the marginalized groups. The next slide, please. Here, if we talk about the right to mental health, which we all know, which is a vital right, we have divided it into three particular divisions, wherein we talk about the individual well-being, we talk about the societal contribution, and we talk about the enjoyment of rights. Talking about individual well-being, we all know that health as such is an asset for every human being. So if your mental health, of course, is proper, you can fulfill not only the happiness for yourself, but also for the society. Similarly, the societal contribution also is there, that we contribute not only for ourselves, but for the society. And enjoyment of rights, if I talk about Article 21, I'm talking about the enjoyment of rights which facilitate the exercise of the fundamental rights of Article 21, which we have right to mental health included in this. Next slide, please. Now, I'll just highlight a few things about the construction sector. We know that there are two particular sectors, which is the organized sector and the unorganized sector. So if we see the unorganized sector, because 90% of India's population belongs to the unorganized sector, and in this sector, if we see, there are precarious working conditions in which the construction workers work. They don't have such facilities. So for that reason, what happens is their mental health is really affected. They are working for long hours. They don't have any prescribed amount of hours, like not 8 hours or 9 hours. They may be working for 12 hours, 14 hours. Nothing is prescribed as such. Then hazardous environments, if we see, especially if we go outside and see the construction sector, we will see the hazardous environment in which they work, and the mental health affects them a lot. Inadequate social security, this is a very, very important aspect, specifically covering the unorganized sector, because they don't have any social security benefits, they don't have any insurance claims, neither they have any provident fund, neither they have any pension, or in case of any exigency, it is very difficult for them to get any benefit from their employer or from immediate employer. Next slide, please. Now, if we talk about the impact of marginalization, we have got, they are not aware of their rights. If we go and talk to any worker who is there in the construction sector, they will never be able to tell you that what really they have or what really they are getting. Even they are not aware of their wages. If you ask them that if you are getting a wage of 350, are you happy? They'll say, yes, we are happy. Because they are not aware of their rights. Neither they are aware of any such laws which are applicable for them. Socioeconomic vulnerabilities, they are the people who are subjected to such socioeconomic vulnerabilities. Lack of social security, informal employment. The most basic thing which is there is informal employment, because they are not permanent workers. They are always temporary workers, and they always have the fear of being removed from their services. Then systemic inequities, because when we see that the entire system, when it is working, we see that it is not equally working for them. Next, please. Need for holistic solutions. We have policy reforms. There are many policy reforms which have been there given by the government, but it is very much essential for us to address them. They are not addressed at some point of time. Community-based interventions, if we are talking about the right of mental health of workers, we need to understand that community-based interventions have to be there by the employer, by the immediate employer, by the contractors, and by the society at large. And employer-led initiatives. There have been a lot of research which is going on this, that the employers need to make the environment very cordial for them. For example, if they are working in a hazardous environment, they need to bring such a bit of entertainment for them, a bit of leisure for them, which actually removes them from the precarious conditions in which they work. Addressing the stigma. First of all, we know that mental health itself becomes a very big stigma for the entire society. So what happens is, I'll just conclude within the next 1 minute because the time is very short. Yes, sir.
So there is a privilege for the teachers.
Oh, sir, thank you so much. So thank you so much. So if I talk about the stigma is that if we know mental health, so people, like they look at they look in this perspective in a very different manner. So that, okay, so that person is affecting, the mental health is affected. But this stigma, how it can be addressed is by education and awareness campaigns, by supportive environments, and by empathy and understanding. If I'm in an environment where I'm working with 3-4 fellow workmen, so at least they have that understanding and the empathy to work with each other and understand each other, and they can solace them, and in this manner actually the working environment also improves. Improving access to care. Now, when I talk about mental health services, I can just say that appropriate timely action and care should be given to them so that they feel that, yes, they are also people who are a part of the society. Because the stigma which I spoke about just now makes them aloof from the society. Now we have got, we can establish mobile clinics, we can expand mental health services, and I think we can give them facilities and tele-mental health services, which is now very much taken into account. Then we have got training community health workers so that we can give them basic mental health support and also improve the access to care. Please.
We also have to look at how we can enhance the safety of the workplace, like we can raise certain awareness relating to the mental health. We can just change the economic conditions, and we can create a balance that how they can work at par with the environment. Regarding the legal provisions, and there are certain legal provisions like we know Mental Health Care Act 2017, the Building and Constructions That Act, all these legal provisions are there. Now, how we can improve this mental health conditions, like we can implement certain strategies, like we can educate the mental health professionals effectively. and we can raise the awareness by educating them. And also we can provide a training, and there it has to be done with the collaborative actions and with the collaborative efforts between the stakeholders like the employers, the contractual, the laborers. By all those things, through these collaborative efforts, it can be done. So basically we have to raise the awareness so that we can do one systematic changes, and we have to adopt certain policies also by which we can see that how the stretch management, how can it be done. And next it will be concluded by Madam.
So here, when I conclude the topic of just and equitable future, I just want to say one thing is that now we have spoken about many things, we have spoken about many legislations, but are they really being implemented? That is one more important thing. As we spoke about the Mental Care Health Care Act 2017, of course, which got amended because from 1987. But are we really seeing that these legislations are really working? So I just end this by saying that if we can prioritize the right to mental health for construction workers, we can of course create a more just and equitable future for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam. So while framing your topic, so can you include privatization and liberalization in your topic?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah, and at the same time, what can you elaborate some reason for ineffective implementation of the laws as construction workers?
So there are many legislations which are there, but if I would reiterate and highlight on one important thing is that we are going to get the new codes. We had initially we had got some 29 laws together, but at present we are actually expecting some codes to come in, like the wage code, which is actually trying to culminate the 4 wage laws together. Then we are getting the social security code, which is again trying to correlate 4 laws together. We are getting occupational health safety code, as well as we are getting industrial relations code. The only motive of this legislation is trying to bring about a homogeneous implementation. But sir, the again problem is where I talk about lack of implementation, the states have not yet made the rules. By March 2025, these codes were supposed to be here. I'll just give a simple example because all the different acts have different definitions. For example, wages, if I talk about that. Now it was supposed to be, the wage code was supposed to bring about all of them together and get one single definition or one single place where everything could work. But the states have not yet implemented that. Again, the center has implemented, state has not implemented. So here there is a loophole, here there is a lack of implementation, because of which, sir, the unorganized sector suffers. I again reiterate that 90% of the workforce is from the unorganized sector, and they are not aware of their benefits, they are not aware of any of the rights. They are just happy that, okay, this is there, I am going ahead with this.
Yeah, number will be increased because our country is very much keen in privatization and liberalization.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so need we make a law in line with the industrial laws?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. The laws are there. That is what I'm trying to tell you, sir. The laws are there. But the laws are being amended also. But there is always a lack of implementation, either by the government, either at the center or either at the state. That is where the lack is.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm cutting short. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
First of all, we talked about privatization. Privatization is one of the reasons of mental health also, actually. This commercialization and materialization. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, ma'am, just for the COVID was a big impact, isn't it, for this thing? And another thing is that this labor codes not coming into practice is because the hire and fire rule is there, very strong there, no? On the other hand, we want to protect. On the other, so there's a conundrum, isn't it? So we have to straighten out that thing. Anyway, thank you very much. That's why. Other picture is we are not coming up in manufacturing because of this. Iron fire is not into place, so multinationals are not coming. So anyway.
I'll just add to what my previous speaker has just now stated. The infrastructure sector is the fourth largest contributor towards the national revenue. So the government should think that the people who are responsible for bringing this revenue to the government should actually be prioritized, and their safety and security should be of foremost concern. So it is upon governments, whether at the center or at individual state levels, to basically find out the solutions by way of which all the social security measures for the informal sector can be implemented. I think this is also something which needs to be highlighted in your paper, so that we can expect governmental intervention to a larger scale. Thank you so much.
So next presenter is Marhoni T. Humse. Her paper is Legal Provisions to Patients with Mental Health and Individuals with Substance Use Disorder in the 3 criminal laws, special reference to Nagaland, India. So please start.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to each one and all of you. As sir has said, my topic is on the legal provisions for patients with mental health and individuals with substance use disorder, with special reference to Nagaland. So I'll get right to the point as there's time constraint. So we all know that the Northeast states are surrounded by the Golden Triangle. The Golden Triangle is the countries which produces drugs. That is Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar. And Nagaland shares a border with Myanmar. Now, here Nagaland is not a producer of any kind of drugs, but all the drugs that comes to Nagaland is through Myanmar, is mainly through Myanmar. And one of the top drugs which comes into Nagaland that have been caught many times over the years is shunt flower. Now, shunt flower is a drug which is kind of it's blue in color, and it's a pill which people take to get do that euphoric state. And this shunt flower is produced from one of the districts in Myanmar. In Nagaland, people mostly pronounce it as sunflower, but it's actually shunt flower. It's actually pronounced as shunt flower. So, and in Nagaland, there is a rise in the use of cough syrups also. And the cough syrups which contains the ingredient gosine. Gosine causes the effect which normally would give a person that euphoric state. And in Nagaland, many of the pharmacies, the drugstores, cough syrups are not mostly sold which contains gosine, because this is one of the factors that Nagaland is also suffering. And one of the most common inhalants that people use in Nagaland at a very cheap price is the use of dendrites. Dendrites in most of the shops, people are not allowed to sell dendrites also. Now, coming to the main point of my topic, I would like to get into the laws, the new three criminal laws. The first is the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which is formerly known as the IPS. In this BNS Act of 2003, it brought a significant change to the Indian criminal system surrounding the topic on mental health, on suicide attempt. Section 226 of BNS Act introduced repealed Section 309 of IPC 18 1860, which previously criminalized the suicide attempt. The next is the BNSS Act of 2023, which is formerly known as the CRPC 1973. The key sections of BNSS 2023, which involves mentally ill patients, are such as Section 368, 369, and thank you. I'm so sorry, I can't continue with the laws of the
Water. Water, where is water? No, sir, water. Some drink something. Allow her to sit in this. Please, take her. After some time, she can proceed. Just allow her to sit.
Just take this water.
Don't worry, you will do all right. So please come and sit. Okay.
You please come and sit, and after some time you will just
Falling once again. She's falling once again.
Can anyone just help her to get up? Someone please come. Someone please come. Take a seat. Please take a thought.
I request everyone to kindly settle down? Sorry for so much of inconvenience. I would now request the next speaker to come on the stage. So we have next Ms. Nausheen Ahmed, who is going to speak on the topic, Harmonizing Mental Health Governance in Northeast India, a critical examination of legal frameworks and cultural nuances.
I request all the speakers, especially those who are students, don't be worried, just you be to the point. You are not to narrate the laws and everything. What are the main issues and problems? You try to highlight that so that you can conclude within 10 minutes or 6, 7, 8 minutes, 9 minutes. Because of course, time constraints are there.
Thank you, sir. A very good morning to everyone present. I am Nausheen Ahmed, a law student of 8th semester, Department of Law, pursuing BBLLB honors at Sister Nivedita University. Today, I stand honored before each one of you to present my research paper titled Harmonizing Mental Health Governance in Northeast India, a critical examination of legal framework and cultural nuances at this esteemed conference. Our mental health is something that affects us all, either directly or indirectly. And in most cases, it is not the individual that gets affected, but the society as a whole. As defined by the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being in which individuals with his or her own abilities can cope with the stresses of life and can work productively. According to the 2019 report of World Health Organization, 1 in every 7 Indians get affected by the mental disorders in their lifetime. My research paper aims to examine the intricacies of mental health governance in Northeast region of India. This study attempts to critically analyze the Mental Health Care Act of 2017 and further strives to identify the issues of implementation of the same in the Northeast region of India. This research paper approaches for a one-to-one mental health care approach. Point number 1, integrating mental health care into a general healthcare system, spreading awareness and removal of social stigmas, community-based initiatives, and the last one, which is the most important, is technology-based interventions such as telepsychiatry, telemedicine, and online counseling. The Northeast region of India comprises of 8 states and over 200 ethnic groups, each with their distinct culture, customs, and languages. And this is probably the major reason why this culturally and linguistically diverse region faces unique mental health challenges. It holds a population of about 4.5 crores and a remarkable geography. Now, the primary legal framework that governs mental health is the Mental Health Care Act of 2017. This act is a culmination of efforts to address the long-standing neglect of mental health care issues in India. Talking about the key provisions of this act, advance directives, nominative representation, and rights to person with mental illness, which are affordable, accessible, and acceptable in this region. I would like to also highlight a more state-specific mental health policy of this region, which is the Meghalaya Mental Health and Social Care Policy of 2022, which aims to promote overall mental health and well-being of individuals. Meghalaya is the first among all to take this initiative. There is a need for more such state-specific policies in order to deal with the shortcomings in implementation of the laws in Northeast region of India. This act, however, holds a lot of limitations, which is lack of specific procedures, clarity in funding, and socioeconomic disparities are not addressed in this act. The act has an inadequate focus on the preventive measures. There are no provisions for the prevention of mental illness in individuals. While exploring the complexities, we come across various cultural nuances, which I would like to talk about, that exist in the northeast region of India. Linguistic barriers exacerbate the stigma and silence surrounding by the mental health issues. Individuals come across struggles in effective communication due to linguistic barriers. Traditional healing practices, these are often community-based, where healers play a vital role in maintaining social harmony. The Act does not give any provision to the traditional healers. That is another shortcoming of the Act. Lastly, I would like to talk about a few recommendations that can address the shortcomings of this Act. Development in the human resource system, which includes capacity building programs for mental health professionals and provide sufficient funds for mental health program and services. Infrastructural development is the second point, and which is a key area for addressing the problems. I would just like to complete my... Lastly, the major point is the application of technology. Mobile mental health units can be established to provide services in rural and hard-to-reach areas, equipped with necessary equipments. Additionally, digital mental health programs can be developed for telepsychiatry, online counseling, and online therapy sessions. And the legal framework which I mentioned, there is a need for more state-specific legislations in this region to address the limitations of this Act. I would like to conclude and say that harmonization means developing awareness of cultural sensitivities and collaborative work, which can, I think, will lead to a better legislative and implementative process in this region. Thank you.
So thank you. So you have highlighted the legal provision relating to mental health. So in brief, can you elaborate cultural nuisances?
Thank you, sir, for your question. Cultural nuances. A nuance is basically a very minute or a minor difference. And since in the northeast region, we can see that there are over 200 ethnic groups with various languages and dialects. So the cultural nuances that exist are in a very short, I'm not able to tell you about the word, but in a very small sense, which the word nuance perfectly fits to it. The cultural nuance is basically the differences and the very minor differences that exist in this region.
So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So next presenter is Subhasis Mana and Ridhi Bhattacharya, Socio-Economic Conflict of Manipur, the Mental Health Perspective.
Good afternoon, teachers, delegates, and all my friends. We are today to talk about the socio-ethnic conflict which is happening in Manipur and the mental health issues that are going on, that are being faced by the riot-affected people. The main objective of our study is to understand what are the mental health issues those riot-affected people are facing, and also to understand what are the legal perspectives available and the implementation of such legal perspectives to help those people cope up with their problems. We mainly base our study on doctrinal method and one empirical data from an interview we got from a film director who chose to be anonymous.
afternoon all. I am Riddhi Bhattacharya of Sister Nivedita LLB. Conflict often does not kill people, it shatters lives. With a population of 37.56 lakhs in Manipur, the most vulnerable are the women and children. They bear the deepest scars of violence. Today, we will be discussing the impacts on mental health of the ongoing conflict in Manipur with special reference to the women and children, analyzing the legal provisions, statistics, and the case studies. Now, let's go to the mental health issues in women that arise due to the conflict in Manipur. The ongoing conflict in Manipur has created extreme mental health issues among women. The prolonged unrest has intensified gender-based violence, disrupted education, and destabilized family structures, thereby creating a generational cycle of trauma and instability. Let's take an example. A woman belonging to the Kuki community, whose husband used to be a pastor in the local church, was killed brutally, and the video of the killing was made viral. This will not only impact the woman here, but also their son, who is only 6 years old, leaving an intergenerational impact.
Also, the women survivors of the sexual assault and the violence, they suffer from paranoia, a fear psychosis, that if they go back to their native villages, they can face the same issues again. And so there is a kind of restlessness in them, and their children who are deprived of education, they are failing the cognitive growth which they should have got in their age. There are almost 50,000 people, and there is more data coming because the conflict is prolonged, that they are displaced from their villages almost 60, 70, 80 kilometers away from their native lands, and they have lost their permanent jobs. There is a horrifying data that school teachers and college professors, they are now left to do daily wage labors, and they are suffering from generalized anxiety disorders and mixed anxiety disorders called GAD and MAD. There is another horrifying data that almost more than 70% of those displaced people are suffering from PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorders. And 90% of GAD survivors are still having those fears or the anger management issues.
While legal provisions exist to protect women's rights and mental health in Manipur, the real question is, are they effective and are they being implemented? In Manipur, the Manipur State Commission for Women's Act 2006 has been established by the Manipur State Commission for Women. That is a statutory body dedicated to safeguarding women's interests. Other provisions include the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. There are sections of BNS like 63, 70, rape, use of criminal force on women, ITP and POCSO. Also the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 can be put in place. Let's look at the statistics. You can see the statistics here. I'm not wasting time on this. So let's move on to the case study. Imagine being in your home with your children when suddenly insurgents set your home on fire. This was a reality for a 31-year-old woman in Jiribam. She and her 3 children were trapped, raped, tortured, and burned alive. This is very obnoxious, and I have tears in my eyes while saying this. And even while doing the research, we found out that her husband could not get a chance to have a proper burial for this woman. So that dignity also is not left in this woman there. And this is not an isolated incident.
So please come to the conclusion. So
Okay.
any recommendations?
Yes, sir, we also have an interview part. I'll just...
So we have some recommendations from here that there is this failure of this SC/ST Act over there. The charge sheets have been filed, but no trials have started within even 90 days of the filing of the charge sheets. And no data has been updated to the petitioners. And also, there are no mental health hospitals, specific mental health hospitals, which are supposed to be there as per the Mental Health Care Act of 2017 in Manipur, as per their government data of the health department. And also there is a case, Sri Maibam Jatiswar Singh versus the state of Manipur, where the High Court of Manipur said that to immediately build a mental health care hospital, which the case was, this was ordered in 2020, but still the hospital has not been made up. So if the government would look after these provisions, I think the people who are affected there of these mental health issues, they can be better dealt with. Thank you, sir.
So I invite only one question from the participant. If there is no question, then we'll proceed. Huh?
Can you just, in 1 minute, highlight what empirical research you have done?
From empirical research?
Yes. We have interviewed a professor and film director from Manipur who has spoken about her personal experience in Manipur during the conflict from May 2023. She has said that there are invisible wounds of this conflict, like she has faced anxiety, PTSD, paranoia, and during the interview we could see that she was unable to talk to us with a proper eye contact, and she said that she's unable to meet her friends from other community. She's from the Meitei community, so the opposite community, the Kuki community, she's unable to go there and talk to them because she expressed the fear of being lynched and killed. So from this we have conferred that the ethnic genocide is a failure of the state also to protect the people, the indigenous people, and they have neglected human rights a lot. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Next presenter is Nivedita Mandal, Cultural Barriers to Mental Health, How Diverse Populations Exercise Their Right to Care.
Good afternoon all present here. I am Nivedita, 4th year law student from Sister Nivedita University. My topic is cultural barriers to mental health, how diverse population exercise their right to care. So basically, mental health is how you think, how you act, how you behave. Right, a good mental health shows how positively you cope up with the environment. But if you are facing issues, then it might be a problem that your mental health is not right at the point of time. So, culture is an integral part of the societal fabrics, and it adds customs, values, and traditions, right? But there are certain stigmas that people face throughout their life. We have to see that in the society there are superstitious beliefs, discriminatory attitudes towards the people who are having mental health issues. So in the states of Northeast India, mental health is often stigmatized and is seen as a taboo because people find this as something that the evil spirits are working upon the mindset of the people. They do not see the things as something that is a healthcare problem. They find it like among the tribal communities where medical healthcare facility is not properly available. They think that these are the bad or the wrongdoings of the people for which they are suffering. So there are certain festivals like Losar festival of Arunachal Pradesh, and then Tripura's Gadiya Puja, then Bihu of Assam. Many festivals are there. People sometimes find that it is the largest cultural, in this largest cultural event, there are certain cultures, certain customs that we have to sometimes follow, and that might be stressful for those who are overwhelmed by all those gatherings of people, and they find it difficult to cope up with their mental health during that particular time. There are many laws that are governing for the mental health rights in India as well as internationally. Internationally, we find the Universal Declaration of Human Rights Act 1948 under Article 25, we find, which includes mental health problems, and it recognizes the rights. And in India, there are, in the Constitution, we find under Article 21, as well as in the Mental Health Care Act 2017. These legal provisions are designed accordingly with the availability of mental health protection services that are available in the country for the benefit of the people who are suffering the problems. If we look on to the tribal people, we will find that the language and cultural differences create a substantial obstacle for delivering quality of healthcare and in the tribal region of India. There are lack of cultural awareness as well as lack of cultural competency, which might lead to mental health problem, and the scarcity of mental health specialists, particularly in rural regions, might further aggravate the matter. So basically, the mental health awareness is a critical public health imperative, and it warrants the collective attention of the people. So through the implementation of the basic strategies like education, medical outreach, infrastructure enforcement, community engagement, I basically feel that mental health care provisions can be implemented in the country and people will benefit through that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, but since I'm working in this area for a long period of time, I would like to correct you in a couple of places.
Sure, sir.
One, I think you have to understand that our modern connotation of culture is quite different from the indigenous ideas and ideals with regard to cultural expressions. So it's better to avoid certain places like ignorance or a non-ability to understand in certain communities. But I think it's important and equally important for the mainstream, so-called, to understand the relevance and importance to protect these cultures, languages, for the betterment of a heterogeneous understanding of our nature and society. So
I'll surely keep that in mind, sir,
Thank
and
you.
do my research better for the next time. Thank you.
So now I would like to call Ms. Debolina Banerjee and Ms. Koel Ghosh to give their presentation on the topic Access to Mental Health Rights Among the Marginalized Communities.
Good afternoon, everyone present here. So today our topic is access to the mental health rights among the marginalized communities, and it will be presented by my co-author,
Koel Ghosh.
We as students of Sister Nivedita University are presenting this topic. So first of all, mental health, it is basically means the condition of a person where the person can think rationally and contribute to the environment and also to an effective well-being. So marginalized communities are basically those communities who are often pushed to the margins of the society in terms of access to resources, any kind of discrimination, exclusion, etc. They are often given limited rights and are deprived in every aspect of the society. Marginalization is the act through which they are pushed through the margins of the society. So basically, there are many types of marginalized groups that we'll focus upon. Like, first of all, it includes women. Then we move on to the children, the people suffering with disabilities. Then we move on to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and also the LGBTQ plus community. The problems that they face often as being a marginalized community members, first of all, we look upon the problems that is faced by women. Since we all know that India is a patriarchal society, we often find women being underrepresented in various spheres of their life, like under political representation. They often are not allowed to leave their houses and go into work spheres. Then sexual exploitations in their workplaces, trafficking, all of these various problems are faced by the women. Next, we move on to the people with disabilities. People with disabilities, the population in India is about 21.9 million. People with disabilities are often marginalized in the Indian society because they do not have the access, free access to the physical public places. They are often not represented in various aspects of their lives. They suffer from disparities and transportation difficulties also. Further, moving to the marginalized communities, we have the Dalits. The Dalits, these are also deprived in every aspect. They are segmented into separate settlements. And the Indian population consists of 260 million of the Dalit community. They are forced to often live in unhygienic and unlivable conditions of their lives. The scheduled tribes, these are often these tribes often suffer from ethnic-based exclusions. They are also disadvantaged and they suffer from displacement problems due to the development projects undertaken. Next, we move on to the children. Children because, not the privileged children, of course, but children who often belong to the underprivileged category, like children of the sex workers. Commercial sex exploitation are one that they suffer from. Then we move on to the sexual minorities, the transgenders, LGBT community. These are the people who also suffer from various heterosexual, due to the heterosexual prevalence of the society, they go through various problems. They are often ostracized from their families and forced to be separated from them. Further, moving into the aspect, we have Northeast Indian representation in this aspect. As we know, there are various tribes we see in the Northeast India, like the Garo tribe, Khasi, Naga tribes. So the problems that these tribes often suffer from are stigma and traditional beliefs. Since we all know that mental illness is considered to be a taboo, and the problems are not openly discussed, especially in these types of communities. The lack of awareness and education, because of language problems, the governmental aspects or the governmental initiatives that are taken that often do not reach to them. Next, we move on to the lack of mental infrastructure. Since this sector is always isolated from the rest of the Indian mainland, we find that there is also a lack in the mental infrastructure, mental health infrastructure. There is a lack of trained professionals in this field. Next, government initiatives, that is also lacking in this bit. No proper implementation of these initiatives has been taken place. Further, the legal framework will be explained by her.
So first we so the recommendations that we want to suggest that the government must take steps to ensure that the laws are more strengthened so that the proper implementation can be done, and every institution, be it government or private, like the educational institution or the working institution should like recruit psychiatrists of their own for the students or for the teachers and the workers as well, so that their mental health condition remains in proper position, like give recognition to traditional healing process, necessary to expand national programs to tribal areas, like in tribal areas this campaigns should be held so that they will so that they can be aware. These are the process, and the constitutional angles are Article 21, right to life and personal liberty. So in Article 14, right to equality. This article is very important as it provides that everyone must be treated equally before the law irrespective of their caste, creed, color or gender. Article 16, prohibition of discrimination. Like every individual should be treated equally irrespective of like any separate Article 19, right to freedom. Like the communities of the marginalized community should have the right to freedom of their own.
So thus, we would like to conclude our speech by
Thank you for your presentation, but I think this presentation needs to be more modified and improved upon. First of all, merely stating the causes is not enough. You should be able to substantiate it with data. If there is no data, then merely mentioning the causes does not help, because it is the data which helps you to arrive at a conclusion with respect to the causes. You have just touched upon the recognition to traditional healing process. You can also highlight the importance of indigenous communities and their contribution by way of providing suggestions in terms of development of the indigenous knowledge that is there with respect to the traditional medicine that is there. So maybe that would help to a certain extent in improving the quality of your work. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You said that they believe in cultural practices. What is your opinion if cultural practices and modern practices are work together? Will it helpful for them?
Cultural practices and modern practices needs to work together, because as we often see that peoples of the tribal communities, they are more culture sensitive, so it is necessary to bring members of their community also into the modern practices so that they can further influence the people to contribute to it and also to get more affiliated with this type of modern practices.
You can ask the question informally later on, okay?
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
With all the presentations coming to an end, I would now like to request Professor Dr. Manik Chakraborty Sir, Professor Emeritus, School of Law, Sister Nivedita University, to kindly felicitate our chairperson Sir, Dr. Sapan Dilip Kumar Sharma Sir.
Must just
I'll call him, sir.
request.
Now, I would like to take this opportunity to call upon stage Dr. Sabam Dilip Kumar Singh sir to enlighten us with his words of wisdom and also share insights on the situations or scenarios of Manipur with respect to the current topic and situation.
Thank you. So the first technical session has deliberated upon right to mental health and marginalized group. Altogether, 9 paper presenters have given their insightful views relating to right to mental health and marginalized group. As most of the presenters are the students, I would like to suggest the students to improve their presentation by incorporating those suggestions given by the learned professors. So with these few words, so I would like to share something on the mental health, particularly in Manipur. The journey of mankind is the journey for searching the absolute truth. All the scientific inquiries are search for achieving this truth, absolute truth. However, no one is able to find out the absolute truth. It seems to me that a relatively near to the absolute truth is the always saying, health is wealth. And this wealth actually makes life more meaningful. And this health is now become a right, enforceable right. As mentioned in the inauguration, that right to mental health is recognized by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and it became an enforceable right by International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966. Article 12 provides everyone's right to highest attainable right to health, which includes mental health. And right to health encompassed mental health because these are the two sides of a same coin, and no one can deny this duality, this dualism. And some important international human rights treaties, like International Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination, Racial Discrimination Convention, Child Rights Convention, then Convention on the Rights of the Persons with Disability. All these conventions recognize right to health. On top of it, regional conventions like American Convention, European Convention, and African Charters, they also recognize right to health. It means that it becomes a universal right, and which is inseparable from right to life. So in Indian context, Article 21 is an all-encompassing right. Supreme Court traced out right to health, including right to mental health from Article 21. Cases like Paramananda Khatar case is the case to the point. And the Supreme Court was very much serious about the protection of the rights of those persons having mental illness. It is expressed in the death of 25 inmates in Tamil Nadu. So Supreme Court took a sumoto case, and it has given direction to the central government as well as the state government to establish a full-fledged mental health hospital So we have now 2017 Act, the right to mental health. So mental health, there are many factors, factors for mental health risks. Some of the important factors, it seems to me, that are biological factor, psychological factor, and the structural factors. So today I'm going to speak on the structural factors because as said the previous speakers about the state of affairs of Manipur, that in Manipur there is conflict, forced displacement, then unemployment, illicit drug trafficking, substance abuse. So these are all the structural factors responsible for mental health problem in Manipur. So Manipur shares border with Myanmar because of the political instability in Myanmar, and at the same time because of the proximity of the Golden Triangle. So Manipur has been for a long period of time as a route for illicit drug trafficking. Now the territory of the drug traffickers and the illegal drug cultivators even expanded their territory to the soil of Manipur. So, and at the same time, police and the Narcotic Bureau, police can bust or destroy many mobile manufacturing unit, mobile drug manufacturing unit inside the territory of India, inside the territory of Manipur. So it's an alarming problem, and because of which the number of substance abuse has been increasing because drug is available easily. Even manufacture process is done in the state of Manipur. There are many evidence of it. This substance abuse is to some extent related with the age-old conflict, particularly insurgency. So in order to cope with insurgent movement, then the Armed Forces Special Power Act was enacted in 1958, and from 1958 onwards till that the act has been enforced. Some areas the act has been lifted from some areas, Imphal areas. Rest of the areas in that areas still the act is in force. So the problem of this prolonged presence of military men, it affects the mental health of the local population. And the Supreme Court in the extrajudicial EVM case 2016, so the Supreme Court was serious enough that the prolonged use of this Armed Forces Special Power Act is not necessary. The opinion of the Supreme Court in that case is that it would be the indicative of the failure of the civil administration to take effective aid to the armed forces in restoring normalcy, or would be indicative of failure of the armed forces effectively aiding the civil administration in restoring normalcy, or both. So the view of the Supreme Court is that the deployment of armed forces is intended to restore normalcy, and it would be extremely odd if normalcy were not restored within a reasonable period, not an unlimited period and an indeterminate period. So, so it is the opinion of the Supreme Court given in the EVM case. So apart from this conflict, the ongoing crisis also be considered as one of the important structural factor responsible for mental health risks people living in the state of Manipur. When we look at the history of Manipur, then the state has never witnessed such type of ethnic conflict. But from 90s onwards, the Manipur has witnessed the rising trend of ethnic conflicts because of ethnic political assertion or aspiration. We all know that from May 3rd, 2023, the violence has erupted from this day, and still the government, both state government and central government, is not able to bring normalcy in the state. So during this conflict, it is estimated that 250 innocent people have been killed, and more than 60,000 people has been rendered homeless. And all those 60,000 people, IDPs, they are taking shelter in the relief camp run by the government as well as the NGOs. When they took shelter in the relief camps, they become jobless. They become jobless, so they have only 2 meals. They have only 2 meals, so life become meaningless. Life become meaningless because of this meaningless of life, because of losing of job. So it is found that there is a high tendency of, increasing tendency of suicidal tendency, and some cases, like 6 cases have been reported. 4 suicide cases has been reported. 2 attempt to suicide case has been reported. So in November 25, 2015, an IDP commits suicide because of inability to afford his medical treatment. So in another incident, a 36-year-old IDP from Tuibong, Churchanpur district, taking shelter in a prefabricated house, also commit suicide, and a formal complaint has been lodged to the National Human Rights Commission in connection with this incident. And what is shocking was the death by suicide by a newly married woman who took shelter in the relief camps. So the students of, law students of the Department of Law have conducted a study on the right to life, right to education, and the right to privacy of one relief camp. So they found that most of the inmates have mental health risks. So this crisis ultimately be considered as one of the important factor responsible for mental health risks in the state of Manipur. And in Manipur, there is 2 government hospitals, that is Regional Institute of Medical Sciences and the Jawaharlal Nehru Institute of Medical Sciences. These 2 hospitals have 2 psychiatric wards. However, the state government is not able to establish a mental hospital in compliance with the directives of the Supreme Court as well as the directive of the Manipur High Court. One of the presenters has pointed out the Manipur High Court judgment directing the state government to establish a mental hospital in compliance with the direction given by the Supreme Court in the death of directive relating to case relating to the death of 25 person staying in the mental asylum in Tamil Nadu. So coming to the implementation of the Mental Health Act 2017, when I interview the nodal officer of the National Health Mission, is the National Mental Health Mission. She informed me that the Manipur State Health Authority and the Manipur Mental Health Review Board has been established. However, considering what is happening in the Manipur, all these infrastructure may not able to cope with the mental health risks of the people or the living in the state of Manipur. Okay, so with these few words, I would like to express my thankfulness to the School of Law, Sister Nivedita University, Kolkata, for inviting me to be the part of the seminar. Last but not the least, so I would like to submit one important point, that spiritualism is the core of Indian value. So I think which is very much related with mental health. And we must foster the Indian culture, particularly spiritualism, and which has been formally introduced and propagated in 19th century by Swami Vivekananda. So, but nowadays, it seems that we are forgetting all those core values, Indian values, ultimately, which will be a very, very important to cope with the mental health crisis in India. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah. Yes.
About Manipur. Yes. That most of the contributing factor of mental health issues in Manipur, even among the use of substance, drugs and opium and all. So I want to ask you that how many de-addiction centers are there in Manipur, or is it, or what about the primary healthcare system in the rural areas, except in?
Thank you, sir. All the district mental health program in all district, in the 16th district, then I have been informed that it is functional. It is functional. De-addiction center, right now, I may not be able to say the exact number of de-addiction center, but there is mushrooming of de-addiction center across the state, which shows how serious substance abuse in Imphal. So in 2019, a state policy for prevention of substance abuse was draft, which is not approved by the government. I think in near future, the draft policy will be accepted, approved by the government. So there are many other factors, so which I may not be narrate all those factors which are responsible for mental health risks in the state of Manipur. So I'm focusing only on conflict and the crisis in Manipur. So substance abuse, Sir has rightly pointed out, it is one of the important contributory factor for mental health risks in the state of Manipur. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom. Now, I would like to request everyone to come together for a group photograph. I request all the participants to kindly come for a group photograph, and everyone who is present in the auditorium, please come for a group photograph. Thank you, everyone. You all can proceed for the lunch. It is being served in the third floor.